Hello, hello, everybody. Episode 51 over here. Of course, John's on my left. I'm Josh. We are going to be talking about what a wild set of divisional games we had last weekend. A lot of great games. Lot of shockers to start out, and then
hmm
I was certainly, I was certainly thoroughly impressed by Sunday night. So, um, welcome back, everybody. We hope you've been enjoying NFL and NBA episodes each week. We try to cover as much as we can. News always circulates around, so we will also be talking about the coaching hirings today. Of course, Jan, how are you doing? And what have you thought throughout these playoffs? What have these playoffs shown you?
Yeah, I'm doing good so far. Chilling. Got a busy weekend up ahead for me, but uh, yeah, this first or not first, but this last weekend of playoffs had a lot of good football. I thought. I think more or less. I think games went kind of as expected. I think. I mean, I think it was fun that there's a lot more closeness compared to that first weekend where we
Yeah,
saw a fair share of blowouts, and I like the blowouts. I think it's kind of fun to see the high scoring, teams getting dominated in the wild card round, but then we kind of saw a little bit. I mean, obviously Ravens Texans game was a bit of a blowout, but outside of that, I felt like a lot of the other games felt relatively competitive, which was also pretty fun and kind of kept me on the edge of my seat for the duration of all the games.
yeah, no, have to agree for that. And I mean, to be honest, the Ravens and the Texans game was actually very interesting in the first
hmm
half. Like it was a tie ball game, 10-10. Like Texans offense was still like struggling against the Ravens defense, to be honest. But
hmm
I mean, like their special teams was showing out. Like it was they had a couple they hung in there and
hmm
they were getting sacks on Lamar Jackson. Like they actually had a schematic play. And then I think what really impressed me about watching the Ravens is when they went out and started having the checkdowns and they had like
hmm
passing concepts to counteract what the Texans would do. The Ravens under Greg Roman would definitely not have had that. And it's one of the reasons why I think the Ravens are more likely to hit the Super Bowl. And the reason why
hmm
I have to put likely there is Patrick Mahomes is on the other side of that championship game. When him on the team, you cannot count the Chiefs out.
hmm
I don't care what they look like, what their weakest links are this season. They continue to surprise me again and again.
hmm
And I think I should have expected this going into this season. But nonetheless, I think the Ravens from top to bottom really
hmm
showed why they're the cream of the AFC.
hmm
And for the Texans, like I wouldn't even be mad by this performance. You have a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, lighting it up all year, and to get to the divisional round is pretty impressive. Hats
hmm
off to CJ Stroud. Had a phenomenal season.
Yeah, and I just think about how the Texans they just think about where they were, I guess, at the end of last season, and through drafting, free agency, coaching changes, it's pretty insane to see how far they've come. And so this really is only the start for the Texans, which
We had them
I
winning
think is
what
really
6
exciting.
games this season.
Yeah. It was like they had some key pieces, but we thought it was going to be one of those situations where it might take maybe like 2, 3 seasons before we really see them in full. I mean, technically, I still think they have tons of room to grow, which is insane for how well they did this season. But I think we both thought that they had a lot more uh, a lot more holes on their team and a lot more areas to improve on before that they'd be this competitive. So uh, it is nice to see. I think CG Stroud he keeps it up. He could very well be the face of the league right next to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, there's no limit on him. Like,
hmm
what's stopping them from continuing to draft weapons around him? Like,
hmm
he's got a good crop. Like, Nico Collins has turned to number one. Tank Dell was a really good two in that offense. Like, he
hmm
was having 130-yard games out of nowhere. Noah Brown even had like a showcase out. So just imagine more talent on that team, what that does, and like, and it's not just him. Like Will Anderson, like that run defense for the
hmm
Texans is really improved. Like you
hmm
could start to see the plan there. So like keep building on the defensive end, and they're going to be a fun team to watch for years to come. As far as the Ravens, like I'm just so happy for Lamar. because everybody's been talking about how he hasn't had playoff success, how like he's not that great of a passer, and he showed everybody this in Louisville. He showed he's very accurate in Louisville. It's just
Mhm.
because it's in college, people discounted him. Wasn't the first pick in round one. Was the last pick in round one.
Mhm.
Like I think who was it? Like was it Jameis Winston and Sam Darnold were picked in that class ahead of him?
No, it wasn't Jameis Winston. It was Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold were the two like bust. But then Josh
Oh,
Allen
right, right,
and
right, right,
Baker
right.
Mayfield were the
Right,
other
right.
two quarterbacks drafted
Winston and
ahead.
Mariota were like the top two in the class before. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
like a year or two before that.
right. Yeah, so that just goes to show like nobody knows what they're looking at when they're evaluating
Mhm.
quarterbacks or players.
I mean,
Like,
everybody kind of knew about Josh Rosen, but
I mean, yeah, I mean the attitude concerns are definitely there and valid, but like to be honest, I don't think he got a fair share shot. Like when you think about like Arizona, like they
hmm
drafted Kyler Murray after him, and then like he just they kind of just gave him 1 year to prove himself.
yeah,
And like look at like Jordan Love, like he didn't have to worry about a situation like that
hmm
because he's slated as a quarterback
hmm
um, behind Aaron Rodgers and like got the chance to develop. Like I kind of feel bad for Josh Rosen's situation. Like the
hmm
attitude stuff, I don't know how much truth to that. Like we never met Josh Rosen in person, we never talked to him, so
yeah,
hard to gauge from there. But tangent over, like I think the way the Ravens have continued to stood by Lamar despite the
hmm
contract talks, and at one point no team in the NFL wanted to trade 2 first-round picks for this dude. The
hmm
Ravens were like granted, it's a business, right? And I remember having this conversation. We were talking about like personally, I would keep Lamar and build
hmm
around him, but if he was to go somewhere, it would be Atlanta. And Atlanta didn't bite, and I think they made a mistake by doing that. If you look at how their
hmm
season went, um,
yeah,
and how like basically every team in the NFL who needed a quarterback who failed to pick up Lamar Jackson, it's now, now at this stage, like after this season, can you
hmm
say he's an MVP, like MVP candidate, like worth 2 first-round picks? Can you say he's worth
hmm
2 first-round picks? I'd say
yeah,
so. I'd say so. The issue with him has been like health, and like the Ravens have stood by him, but they haven't
hmm
built around him until this season. And look what happened once you got him weapons in a system
hmm
that uses his abilities both in the passing game and the running
hmm
game. So
yeah, yeah.
super happy to
Granted,
see this push.
yeah, but granted, I don't think Lamar's MVP talk if he was with the Falcons this season under Arthur Smith, but that's just my own take.
That's fair. That's
But
absolutely fair.
but like looking in hindsight, I think any team really should have, like paying 2 first rounders for this type of play is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, with a first-round pick, you're expecting him to be a major factor of your team for
hmm
3 years. I would think Lamar Jackson could be a major factor of that team for the next
hmm
3 years. Like
Yeah.
he's not dropping up anywhere. And if you watch him run the football and like get down, he's never exposing himself to big hits, even when he ends plays in the middle of the field. So like I don't think there's going to be like a big drop off when he hits
hmm
30 or 35 because he knows how
hmm
to take care of his body. And that's a huge sign if he can stay able to do that.
hmm
All right, let's talk about a classic. Obviously, I love this game being a Bears fan, but and a George Kittle fan at that.
hmm
But 49ers win late against the Packers. Packers looked like they were in complete control. I remember this broadcast segment. They did Matt LaFleur absolutely dirty when they
hmm
reported
Oh
that
yeah.
when Anders Carlson goes up every time they kick the ball, LaFleur just prays, and that
hmm
quote was taken out of context in LaFleur's
Yeah.
defense. And right before that happens, that second was dropped, and then the Carlson misses the field goal, and the 49ers go to win it. And
hmm
Brock Purdy was struggling in the rain, like taking his
hmm
gloves off, putting him back on, like trying to see like what's the best angle to throw the ball. And wow, what a game! Can't say enough. Like it's it's. I think the 49ers show their you can never count them out
hmm
even with an equally talented team on the defensive end. Green Bay has a lot of talent that people don't
hmm
think about with them. Their offensive and defensive lines have been like second to Detroit.
hmm
Like Offense second to Detroit, and like the defensive line is just like a tick behind like the Ravens, 49ers, Browns, like all those stacked line, the Jets. Like Packers are right up there in talent level. It's just haven't been like maximized on the defensive end. So,
Hmm.
what did you think of this game?
um, I think for how heavily the 49ers were favored, the Packers put on a good show. I think the Packers, kind of like the Texans, have a lot to look forward to over the next couple seasons. Um, yeah, because I think like both these teams are just really young, high potential type teams that uh, can really just dominate the NFL for I don't know the next 5, 10 years potentially, just with how surprising everything kind of came together at the end. And uh, yeah, and I mean Jordan Love, he had his mistakes or whatnot, but I think overall he played a pretty good game against a loaded 49ers defense. Um, and I think with another full off season, I think it's a lot to look forward to for Packers fans. But yeah, 49ers, I mean they're just good at doing their thing. Obviously, even when they struggle, they just have so many talented pieces that can really just sway the favor to their side of the game. And like we saw that with Christian McCaffrey just doing his thing, and when Purdy was struggling, McCaffrey's just right there to basically keep the offense in rhythm and keep it going if the drives start to stall out for them. And I think that can make it pretty easy for them to go continue through the. I mean, just one more playoff game, but I think that it makes sense to see why they're favored for the next upcoming game. But I'm excited for their next playoff game too.
Yeah, I mean, 49ers and Lions are going to be a great
Hmm.
game. We'll talk about that. I think Debo going out hurt them.
Hmm.
But like you could see the effect that Fred Warner had on like Jordan Love's throws. Like Jordan Love couldn't get like those corner touches to like his tight end or like Fred Warner would cover, and you could see him sail those throws. And
Hmm.
only a guy like Fred Warner can do that. There's a reason we had him ranked as the best middle linebacker in the game right before the season started.
Hmm.
Absolute phenomenal player. Like Greenlaw had. Nice job capitalizing on a poor decision from Jordan Love. I was kind of shocked to see that from Jordan Love because like he literally had tons of green grass around him. Could have thrown the ball away. And like, hey, you don't know what you don't know. He throws it off his back foot across his body, like in that situation. Um, that's that's when you want to have like the game manager in that situation. And let's talk about Brock Purdy for a bit. Can people relax on him? Like,
Hmm.
I think people forget he was the last pick of the draft.
Hmm.
Like, and we were having conversations on whether he should be the starter or like Trey Lance or Sam Darnold before the season starts.
Hmm.
And all he's done since he's been the 49ers starter is win games, win against high profile teams, and get his team to the NFC Championship 2 consecutive seasons.
Hmm.
So let's pump the brakes on Brock Purdy is washed. Like
Hmm.
he can is he a game manager? Yeah. I think that's important. If you want to win the game, you need to know how to manage it in the last
Hmm.
6 minutes of the game. Like this guy is a really good like player, and I would take a look at a recording on the 49ers and Bengals game because that stretch where the 49ers were losing 3 in a row and everybody was like panicking on that team showed Purdy's true colors. And that's why I'm
Hmm.
confident this team could make it to the Super Bowl from the
Hmm.
NFC side. Now, am I going to be surprised if the Lions make it? No. The Lions are a really good football team. They have an equal opportunity to win. But with that said, I just trust the 49ers more because
Hmm.
the talent level on the roster is
Hmm.
slightly higher than Detroit. And I mean slightly.
Hmm.
And I just think you cannot count out these 49ers when you think about like how they suffered for the NFC Championship game last year. They're going
Hmm.
to come ready to play, and what Detroit has going on is great, but I think the 49ers are motivated to show, okay, we're fully healthy now. So like relatively, we're going to show you what we could do because we're fully
Hmm.
healthy.
Yeah, and I think with Brock Purdy, I think that some of I guess the dispute on him being quote unquote washed isn't necessarily of him being the washed argument, but it's just confusion on what exact tier of quarterback to put him in, because it's he had great numbers this season. You can't take that away from him, but are you with those great numbers, are you putting him in the same tier of a quarterback as Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes? And I think a lot of people say no to that. Like I think I still take all three of those guys over
Me too.
Brock Purdy.
And me too. And I still think Brock Purdy is a top 10 QB, if not top 12 QB. I
Hmm.
think you can make the case that he's one of the elite quarterbacks of the game and not
Hmm.
say he's on Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar
Hmm.
stuff. I think that's a fair argument.
Yeah, and so I think the whole like conflict starts with like the media treating him like he's in that caliber of quarterback when most fans don't believe he belongs in that caliber. But then there's also people that kind of do it a little too far, which ends up resulting in uh, people saying that he's overrated. He's not actually that good. He's carried by his entire team, which I do think his surrounding cast certainly helps him quite a bit in terms of, just, I mean, they made Jimmy G look pretty competent too. But but I do think that, I mean, Brock Purdy's still miles ahead of Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's, like you said, I think fits pretty well in that like top 10 quarterback range, maybe closer to that 10 bit. But um, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think 49ers should continue to stick with him. Obviously, he's brought them far into the playoffs 2 years in a row now. And so, uh, yeah.
Yeah, and then on your note on the talent level, obviously the 49ers are extreme. Like rarely do you have like 4 all-pro level talents like at skill positions to support your quarterback. But like every good QB needs it. Like
Hmm.
you look at Jalen Hurts, you look at Josh Allen, you look at Lamar Jackson this season and his MVP season. You look at Patrick, they all have guys to help him out. This is a team game. Like you
Hmm.
can't I don't think like you said, you can't take that away from Brock Purdy.
Hmm.
Like I think the greatest strength of Brock Purdy is similar to Tom Brady, where like it's his
Hmm.
mind and his processing. His mind and his processing is that far beyond like a guy that's in the second year of the league. And that alone is gonna evolve into a 12 to 15-year career for him
Hmm.
of just consistent great quarterback play. Like sometimes quarterback play isn't making like the wow throws where you're like half a foot off the ground and trying to launch a ball in the air. So sometimes it's like managing the pocket like a boxer and like trying to figure out like where are the holes in my pocket where I can step up and deliver a ball. And Brock Purdy can do that great.
Hmm.
All right. No, we're a little bit limited on time, so we are gonna go ahead and transition to the Lions. Lions had a very controlled and fashioned win
Hmm.
against Tampa. Um, they were largely in control. Tampa never led. Tampa made it interesting at the end. Um, it was close. I like the strategy when you're down 14 to go for it,
Hmm.
to go for two when you score that touchdown. I don't mind it personally because like one, your offense just scored a touchdown. You have momentum going into it. You can dial up a play in a goal to go
Hmm.
situation um, based on what got you the touchdown. It's a very easy call. Like keep the offense flowing. I'm all for it. And then plus, like the downside is you have to go for two the next time, which
Hmm.
requires you to score a touchdown anyway. So
Hmm.
what is one more play that like there's obviously risk like where you're basically going for it twice potentially versus one time
Hmm.
when going for that method. But like the upside is winning. You play to win the game. So I didn't
Hmm.
mind that call from Todd Bowles' end. But nevertheless,
Hmm.
I loved how the Lions protected against like Tampa's wild like defensive schemes where they were lining defensive linemen as
Hmm.
linebackers and linebackers on the D line. Very well played. Amon Ra came to play. Jameer Gibbs looks amazing. Sam Laporta is toughing it out. Jared Goff has full confidence. I love that Detroit's fully behind this dude. Here's another feel good story where he's not a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and he doesn't have to be for this Lions to go to the Super Bowl.
Hmm. Yeah. All I gotta say is all those draft haters are looking so stupid right now. I remember like like for the Lions at least for like on the I think it was like ESPN or CBS like their draft grades or whatever they graded like the Lions as an F and they're like one of the worst drafts or whatever. But I mean like look how great their rookie contributors are. Um, and I mean that's how you really do build the teams. I mean, you can bring free agent like additions or whatnot, and like that can kind of give you like an additional like patchwork fix. But in reality, it is building through the team gives you like the affordability of players plus if you're landing on your picks, you do get the superstars that you really do need, and um all like the additions both in free agency and through the draft. We're making big plays for the Lions here, and that's and I mean that just gives you such an edge on other teams when all your additions are effective playmakers. And I mean we even see that from the Buccaneers though, where some of the guys that they bring and the guys that they draft are also to make key plays. And I think that's what led to so much of the Buccaneers' success over the course of the season, where obviously Baker Mayfield has a phenomenal year this season. But then even guys through the draft, I mean, like Trey Palmer is kind of the big name or whatever from the draft that kind of exploded onto this year, and because
Did he
it
score a
really
touchdown
was.
this game?
Um, I don't, I don't think he did. I know for a fact that like the first half or something, I think he was catchless or something. But
Mhm.
yeah, I guess he didn't send his I'm angry text or tweet in the morning. But
Yeah. I
um,
mean, I was expecting a touchdown out of him, like based on like every single time he sends
mhm,
it.
yeah, but yeah, Trey Palmer, he's been a really nice piece for the Buccaneers this season. Because I mean, it mostly has been the Mike Evans, Chris Godwin show, but I mean, like Rashad White, he really stepped up in the receiving game as a receiving back, and then Trey Palmer was really just another really
I was
nice change
totally
of
wrong on
tempo.
Rashad White and Fat Baker. I mean, for like I remember previewing Tampa, like for me, those are the two weaknesses on offense based on where
Hmm.
their gains were last year, and
Hmm.
they've totally proven me wrong.
Hmm.
Dave Canales has got the best out of this team, and then we wish him the best of luck. I think he's going to Carolina as a head
Hmm.
coach as of today,
Hmm.
but 100% right with your analysis. Sorry, cut you off there. Go ahead, finish your train of thought.
I know. I mean, that's mostly it. I think the teams from this last weekend of the playoffs were all really good teams. They played really well, like really good football, both throughout the course of the season and throughout the playoffs. And I think that they just really, all these teams really impressed me. Especially, I mean, we were kind of both high on the Lions at the beginning of the season. I think I had them winning the division. I think you had them getting second place
Second,
behind the
yeah,
Bears.
by a game,
Um,
yeah.
but I mean, we had them doing good. But then, yeah, the Buccaneers. I think I had them maybe being around 500, which I guess is what they did. But I didn't think that they'd be this good at 500, which is kind of fun to see. I'm happy to see Baker playing good football, but also I'm excited to see Jared Goff and the Lions also playing good football, and I hope they make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was hoping for a Bills and Lions Super Bowl. That would have
Hmm.
been a feel good because like you would know which team to root for, and no matter who won, like somebody was going to be
Hmm.
really happy. Um, I mean that's pretty obvious, but I mean as far as like fan bases, those fan bases have been
Yeah.
starving for a Super Bowl for so long, so that would have been cool to see. Um, Regardless, the Lions could still do it. But Baker, I think a cool story I saw was um, Dan Campbell talking about scouting Mark Andrews and how he
Hmm.
noticed like Baker Mayfield was still throwing to every guy that was draft eligible, like on
Hmm.
their pro days, um, despite the fact that he had his own workouts and he had his own like things to worry about, like coming out of the draft.
Hmm.
And that was just a really cool snippet. Like I think it goes to show the kind of person Dan Campbell is, and then also
Hmm.
Baker Mayfield. Like I think where people get wrong with Baker Mayfield is they look at the showmanship and
Hmm.
think he's just some kind of jock or like some jerk that
Hmm.
like just to show off or
Hmm.
something like he gives off that vibe when
Hmm.
he's actually probably one of the greatest leaders like a locker room could have. And I think
Hmm.
you saw it show itself in Tampa and why the team has so much of success
Hmm.
because like no matter what, he would always stand behind his guys and his teammates. Super mature. Had like high praise for
Hmm.
the Lions fans and like the stadium. Like I'm really impressed with Baker's leadership
Hmm.
and how it's grown since Cleveland.
Hmm.
Like obviously the Freddie Kitchen situation was a wild disaster, but how he's
Hmm.
bounced back from that since then has been
Yeah.
really fun to see.
Hmm. Yeah. I remember after the game or something, I was thinking about how I feel like Dan Campbell and Baker Mayfield would be a match made in heaven in terms of like a coach quarterback relationship. But
Yeah. I mean, they had the personalities; it would work out. I
Mhm.
would totally. I was
Yeah.
thinking about that too. Not gonna lie, yesterday. Yeah. So, I mean, the Dan Campbell, like,
hmm
what can you say about the job he's done in 3 years? Like, he's made people look like fools, like who have like misjudged this team over
hmm
the first season. Um, so well done, Detroit.
hmm
Well done.
Yeah, and good on the owners too, because I remember
Oh,
I was reading.
100%. Yeah,
I
go ahead.
remember I was reading or listening somewhere that like there was some conversation that someone had with the owners of the team. Maybe it was through like one of the coaches, but the owners said like they kind of were getting sick and tired of the cycle of just hire a new head coach after like a couple like 1 or 2 bad years, and then try to go on to the next guy, try to keep on switching things up. But they were realizing that wasn't really working, and so when they brought in Dan Campbell, they kind of saw the vision that he had, and they're like, he's going to struggle. This is not a good team to have right now, and so they just kind of believed in the process and kind of let things settle in and let the players buy into the culture mindset that Dan Campbell had, and now they're obviously reaping the rewards. Where I think there's a couple other head coach or not head coaches, but owners throughout the league that uh almost want to have like a speed run to success in terms of they hire a head coach, get a new quarterback, and they're like, okay, this is it. We're gonna start winning now, and then they don't get that immediate success or like that linear development that I think a lot of owners want when they're spending millions of dollars on one thing or another, and then it causes them to fire the coach and try to bring in a new guy, and then next thing you know, your quarterback that started out as a rookie has gone through 4 or 5 head coaches in 6 seasons, and now he's like, oh, I don't want to extend this guy anymore, so they get rid of him, bring in the new guy, and just continues this perpetual cycle of producing busts.
Yeah, and I think you laid out an important
hmm
point there. Like I've talked about so many times on like how QB development isn't linear. Like any player
hmm
development isn't linear, really.
hmm
But like it, you could see why Dan Campbell was successful. Like he stands by his players, and it's not that he has like some magic formula. He cares about his players. He's willing to ride for the thick and thin. He almost got fired in his
hmm
role in Detroit. And like to your credit, the owners have like stuck by the process of how the the general manager and Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell built the team. And I think it's needed. And you mentioned owner. I'd say a majority of owners are that way because like
hmm
look at all these teams that are so close to the Super Bowl and lose it and then suddenly change like what they're trying to do. And that's a massive mistake. Like look at how much turnover the Eagles had, like
hmm
coming off of like a Super Bowl appearance. And just by losing two coordinators, that team has dropped off so far when teams got to be on what they're trying to do, both on the
hmm
offensive and defensive end. So like it's not just the Eagles. There's a lot of teams out there that are like the Bears have been in this problem for a long
hmm
time until they got Poles and Eberflus. I think they're on the come up with building something for real this time. Um, and like you look at that situation, maybe the Chargers are that way too. We just will see. But I think that there needs to be a lot of focus on like just building a team, building a program, building values, and sticking by them through the thick and thin.
hmm
Like it's easy to fire a coach after 6 straight losses, but like look at the detail. How did they lose? What's the impact that they have on losing? Like, well, I just talked about with Diego on like Adrian Griffin. Why did he get fired after 49 games to the Milwaukee Bucks? Well, the players weren't liking how he didn't adapt his system to the players. You need like there's a reason why like
hmm
Mark Davis changed coaches. Um, like from Josh McDaniels to Antonio Pierce and learned his lesson from the Vic Bisaccia, um, like lack of not hiring Vic Bisaccia after the wonderful job he did. So like you just look at the players and how they play for Dan Campbell, and that tells you all you need to know about
hmm
where that team is at. Okay,
Yeah.
no, we're running short on time, so we are gonna talk about the Bills and Chiefs. Man, oh man, I feel so bad for Bills Mafia.
hmm
You got to be kidding. This team like always beats the Chiefs in the regular season, always
hmm
looks evenly matched with them in the playoffs, and then something happens late in the fourth quarter that goes in Chiefs' favor, and they always seem to come
hmm
out on top. How do you assess this
Yeah.
game, Christian?
um, yeah, it's a heartbreaking loss for Bills fans and just the Bills in general. I mean, there was the infamous photo of Stephon Diggs watching the Chiefs celebration after the game a couple of years ago, and he's been reliving that moment for like the past like 4 years or something now, and uh, yeah, it just kind of stinks to see. Um, I think I don't know because I mean they did have like the some like coaching related to offensive coordinator changes throughout the season, and that gave them a really huge boost that they really needed to make the playoffs, which was obviously great for them. But I think I don't know. I like obviously you can blame like the kicker Tyler Bass for this, but I don't think it's really hard to place like this loss on one specific person on the team because I mean Tyler Bass has been just killing it literally all season throughout his entire career with the Bills. He's been rock solid for them, and so it's really hard to say like we fire change up Tyler Bass because odds are you won't get a better kicker there. Your offense
And
has
this is
started to play
coming
better.
off of like where Josh Allen had an end zone throw, where like if he had a
Hmm.
clean pocket, that's a touchdown. Like
Hmm.
so, I'm in agreement with you there.
Yeah, and like I'd say like the one concern I'd have for this team is just like Stephon Diggs' involvement because after the offensive coordinator change, it seemed like Stephon Diggs was kind of written out of a lot of the schemes within the offense. And so it's like you're paying quite a lot of money for a top tier wide receiver for him to be really doing nothing for you as a team. Like he had like a couple catches here and there for like 5, 6, maybe your little dinks and dunks, but like and I know he like there was like a missed deep shot that was to happen later in the game, but like you gotta get I don't know I feel like you gotta get him more somehow more involved and like even if you are getting he is getting double covered, like Stephon Diggs is good enough that he should be able to overcome some of those things. It's similar to like guys with like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. It's like if they're getting double covered, are you just gonna scheme them out of your offense? Like no, not really. But I feel like it's something that kind of happened with the Bills after the coaching change. Uh, and so I think like it is tricky because obviously offensive systems did change in the middle of the season, so it's hard to implement everything that you'd like midway through, and it still did provide them a huge boost. But I do hope that for next season that the Bills try something to get Stephon Diggs involved because I mean like looking at the sidelines, it almost felt like Stephon Diggs is checked out half of the time. I mean I'm sure he's like mental. I mean he's in the game. He's in the game obviously, but
Right.
uh, he it just didn't seem like he was as fired up. Maybe he was a little bit more pissed, just at how things were going with the offensive play calling. Just because, like, you're facing a team you have not beaten in the playoffs, and it seems like you're the guy that they brought in to be their star to kind of give the boost to the offense a couple of years ago, and you're just completely written out of the team when it matters the most. And I'd imagine he could be kind of just pissed about that and just not feel like his full heart's in the game then.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you brought up. I thought they did a great job involving Stephon Diggs the first series,
Hmm.
and they were using him in the backfield. They were moving him around,
Hmm.
but to your point, they haven't involved him like in those second quarter, third quarters, like important moments, and then you count
Hmm.
on him with a deep shot. That's a little bit tough. And then like
Hmm.
the shot to Shakir that sailed a little bit right because Deion Dawkins got pushed into Josh Allen. Like
Hmm.
that's a tough play to swallow. That's a game winner right there.
Hmm.
Like where you have enough time to stop the Chiefs,
Hmm.
like get the ball back, or like if the Chiefs score, you get the ball back for one last hurrah or something like that. But the shots to Sherfield, like that's tough because like Sherfield's not that type of player. Like I think they sorely missed Gabe Davis. I was
Hmm.
really impressed with Khalil Shakir. I really am. Like I didn't see this coming. I was high on him and Kincaid going into the season as second and third options, but like if you told me he was like beating Legarius Sneed and Legarius Sneed's only touchdown allowed was to like Khalil Shakir all year, I would not believe you. Like he
Hmm.
made absolute ridiculous catches. He did it against the Steelers in the wild card game. He's done it now. Like I would continue to invest in the receiving core and just keep it at Diggs, Shakir, and a really good rookie and Kincaid and
Mhm.
Knox and keep building those because I think if anything this year showed like with Joe Brady, the Bills know how to build around Josh Allen and not just say, "Hey,
Mhm.
Josh Allen, take me there." They
Mhm.
just got to continue to do that and add more weapons. And I don't think it will come down to those 3 to 5 plays that they missed because I think the
Mhm.
talent around Josh Allen will be a lot better. I think they've
Mhm.
been too reliant on him, and this was the first season where they weren't.
Mhm.
And they had bad breaks. They really did. Um, like I guess you can call like the McCole Hardman fumble like a break for the Bills, I guess, but like
Mhm.
McColl's got to secure that in and like understand that's still a rule. Like I don't know why people are like that's a dumb rule because it's literally the Bills' territory. They're claiming if you fumble in their territory, the end zone, that should be their ball. That's been the rule long standing. Um, quick tangent on that, but
Mhm.
if I'm the Bills, I would not. I wouldn't stay content with Diggs. If he's washed, I have no idea. Like I don't think so, but he hasn't been involved for us to say if he's washed or
Mhm.
not. But like continue building around him, prepare for the possibility that like he will want out or he won't. Like this is the
Mhm.
season to get your rookie wide receivers to develop in case he wants it. You need to have a successor plan because
Mhm.
you don't want to go into the season with Shakir and Gabe Davis. Like
Yeah.
worst comes to worst. Like as much as I love Shakir, that's not enough to support a top flight QB like Josh Allen.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Speed run through this quick. We had at least like 5 or 6 coaches hired over this
Mhm.
past week. We just talked
Yeah.
about Dave Canales, Raheem Morris, Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. Really glad I
Mhm.
got that one right. Antonio Pierce to the Raiders as well.
Mhm.
Um, what has been your favorite hiring so far?
Um, let's see. I
I
mean,
could be
like
missing one
obviously,
there.
in my head, I feel like there's another one. I can't like
Oh, Brian
place it
Callahan
though.
to the Titans.
Oh yeah. Brian Count. Yeah. Um, I know that was an interesting hire. I know like a lot of people are like saying it was like a very like meh signing as a head coach, where it's like it could be good, it could be bad. Don't really know how it's gonna go, but I do think the Chargers really did get a money move with Harbaugh. um, I think, and I like obviously I don't know the full contract details of it all, but like I mean in terms of like what he like how much control Harbaugh gets, but I'd imagine Harbaugh gets a lot of control with the team, and like the ownership gets a lot less, I guess, like hands-on power in terms of what like the direction the team necessarily heads at, which um seems standard. I mean, that's what kind of Harbaugh did with the 49ers as well. He came in and he was kind of like, I'm going to do what I do, uh, and he made them a good team, you know. And then the ownership fired him and let him go for not winning the Super Bowl, I guess. But I think that I think he brings that type of level of energy to this Chargers team that I think they've really been needing. You know, get rid of all these Walmart cashiers for as head coaches and finally bring in the big boys. You know, and so
Man,
I
you didn't
do.
have to do Staley like that.
Staley, like as a Broncos fan, I love Staley there, but like he should
He
have
should have
been
been
gone
fired after the
so
Jaguars
long
game.
ago. He should,
Yeah.
yeah, like he had no business really being a head coach at all. I think, um, especially for that
Great
long.
defensive coordinator. Great defensive coordinator.
Hmm.
Like running a team, that's like some of the Matt Nagy. Like I just couldn't see him from him.
Hmm. Yeah, and like yes, I mean I guess that is my favorite, hiring of the bunch so far. I am now curious to kind of see what happens with Belichick. Like part of me thinks he might retire just like with how old he is, and but like at the same time, it's like I feel like if that was the case, he never like they should have never like parted ways. So it's I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Belichick kind of pans out, but we'll see.
I think the one team that would make sense for him, and this is just based on proximity,
Hmm.
I think the Washington Commanders might be the best team for Belichick.
Hmm.
Because right now they're going under defensive transformation where they lost 2 of their star defensive ends. They're trying to build around Sam Howell or like the draft. You don't know how that's
Hmm.
going to pan out. Like I'd be very interested to see like how Belichick would fare there. It doesn't make
Mhm.
the most sense to me, but like think about him like growing up like as a coach. His family's in New England. He's in New England now. Like this is like the closest he'll be to like
Mhm.
coaching like out of all the teams that are looking for guys. So like
Mhm.
for me, I still think there's an outside shot he could be with the Commanders. But
Mhm.
if I'm the Commanders, I'm waiting for like Ben Johnson. I would make that wait. I really would,
Mhm.
unless you plan on like promoting Bieniemy, because
Yeah.
they might. I think they're trying to see like how would Bieniemy and Johnson coexist,
Mhm.
like before making a move like that, or
Yeah.
like because they probably have different offensive philosophies.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, part of me is like, at least with the Commanders' future plans, I think it would be smart to go defensive minded almost.
They could go
Uh,
Rabel also. Like,
yeah. Like Vrabel, I think could be cool because I mean, like, I think you have enough offensive firepower with the enemy. Um, and like just think about like how I guess prolific of a passer he made Sam Howell look. I mean, like
yeah,
he like he had a lot of yards, but he also was had his fair share of issues as well with the team, and the fact that Bieniemy was able to bring out all that greatness from their pass attack, I think says a lot about his ability to run an offense. And so if you get a guy that's at least a solid like player motivator or a solid defensive mind, I think through the draft you'd likely draft your new guy, uh, and then kind of go on with that, and then just have like insane development with Bieniemy kind of just running the show there.
yeah, no, fair. I think the only counter argument I would make there is like, how long are you planning to have the enemy there? Because like
Hmm.
this hiring cycle is probably not the best comparison to make here. Because
Hmm.
like the types of offensive coordinators who have got jobs is not what we expected. Like we expected like Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, like Shane Waldron to get head coaches. I'm ecstatic that Shane Waldron is the Chicago Bears OC. Really
Hmm.
excited of how he's going to help Justin Fields, or if they surprise me and go with Caleb Williams, like
Hmm.
how he develops Caleb Williams. But enough of that tangent. I think with the enemy, like he has what, like at least one more year with that team to develop that
Hmm.
offense, and then like some other team is going to be like, we need to hire that guy. He made Sam Howell look like a top 10
Hmm.
QB for half the season. We need him, like for our team,
Hmm.
and just the way like how the league is offensively focused now.
Hmm.
So I would be skeptical about doing that and being like, why not just make Bieniemy the head coach in that
Yeah.
situation, and then have him hire a defensive coordinator. You know, so um,
Hmm.
there's really no wrong way the Commanders can go here. They have a lot of great options. Now, if they go out of the mill and like sign Matt Patricia as head coach, then that's like, okay, what do you do? Like, you have Rabel and Belichick
Hmm.
there. Like, what are you going snooping around for Matt Patricia for? So um, that I think I think most of the coaching hirings have been whelming,
Hmm.
close to under, but like the Harbaugh signing and the
Hmm.
Canal signings, I really love. Canals might be my favorite because I'm excited to see how he develops Bryce Young. That
Hmm.
would be really cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, quick picks for you because I know you're running late. Who do you got winning the championship games and why?
um, Ravens, Lions,
Okay,
Ravens because screw the Chiefs, and Lions because I don't know, screw the 49ers. I don't know, I'm just kidding. No, no. I mean, obviously, I think people have said Lions. I don't think that's a true statement, like they're perfect counter or whatever. But I do think that they have really good pieces that like just are effective against teams like the 49ers, and like the fact that I mean Lions just have a great offensive line, which comes down to it. That's how they've been able
elite
to
offensive line. Yeah,
yeah, like that's how they've been able to tear apart other teams throughout the season. It's just the fact that their O line has been able to stop uh pretty much every opposing pass rush, which has allowed Jared Goff to just have clean pocket. Yeah, clean pockets majority of the time that allows him to thrive and play good football. Um, and then with the Ravens, Chiefs, I think objectively the Ravens have a better team, but also I just don't want the Chiefs to win, and so like yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the Coruscant's on his deathbed here, like joining on and off on the call. So like, he clearly this is his last wish. He wants the Chiefs not to go back to back. I fully endorse that and support that. It's nice to see new teams win. Um, I like the Ravens. They're a feel good story. Like I just love the way they've committed to Lamar Jackson and built around him. Like the defense has been amazing. Kyle Hamilton, the linebackers, Justin Matabuke. Like I can go on and on. Like Mike McDonald, the way he uses these guys. Like they've shut down every explosive offense that we've hyped up and that have gone against the Ravens. And I think he'll have a plan for Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes. Um, I'm gonna go with the 49ers. Okay, I'm a Bears fan, okay? But ignore that for a second. I just think they're built from top to bottom better from the skill position levels than the Lions. Is it by this much? Yes. But I think they have enough being at home to seal the win. And like for the Lions fans, they've had a great season. I will not be mad if they win against the 49ers. And I'm saying this as a Bears fan. They have an equal chance to win this game as the 49ers. From top to bottom, they're a great team. I just think the 49ers are too explosively powered offensively. And I'm saying a lot because the Lions are really good offensively too. But I just think the 49ers are just a tad bit better. And in the league, that matters by one possession wins. So I'm going to go Ravens 49ers for the Super Bowl again. And we'll see what goes from there. Thank you guys for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can follow us at amon.a.mission, as I just put here as our Instagram handle. You can follow us on YouTube at Amon Mission. Be sure to like and subscribe to get the latest notices on the episodes. We hope you guys enjoy the games on Sunday. Until then, see you later. Peace out, guys. Ooh, nice touch, Kosyan. Love the touch there. See ya.